This right here is the 2018 Mercedes-AMG G63. That's right, the iconic Geländewagen or G-Class reimagined for the modern day. Now I say reimagined, but as you can probably tell, it looks quite a lot like its predecessor, but that's the beauty of it. They've kept all the retro touches intact while changing a lot under the skin. What I'm here to find out today is what it's like as a Mercedes, what it's like as an AMG, but as you've probably guessed from our surroundings, I'm first going to try and find out what it's like as a G-Wagon. Now, I'm not going to be doing any serious off-roading today, stuff like rock crawling and things like that, although I'm sure this car would be up to the task. Its predecessor certainly was, and Mercedes claims it's even better off-road now. What I have with me instead is this small little rally stage, and it's not just any rally stage. This is Gaurav Gill's rally park just outside of Delhi. He's been kind enough to let us use it for the day and put the G63 to its paces. Yes, today it's a little bit overrun with foliage from a slight lack of use, but it's perfect for the G63, which is just towering over everything and smashing this track into submission. Well, what about the car then? What's really impressive is that it's doing so well despite being in full AMG spec with the optional 22-inch wheels. Of course, there is also far more hardware here than I would ever need. It does return with 3 lockable differentials, 3 front, rear and center. But of course, I'm not going to need any of those today. But I've tried them on the old car and they are superbly effective at getting this car unstuck. The new G does get off-road modes tailored to different terrains, but it's just so mechanically capable on its own, I can't imagine why you'd ever need to use them. I could play around here all day quite honestly, but while this new G63 makes for an incredibly fun toy on an empty dirt track, there's quite a bit more to it. Now Mercedes tells us this new version of the G-Wagon is far more usable and comfortable out on the road than its predecessor, and there have been many improvements towards that goal. However, while it is better than before, it's still not perfect and you will have to make a few compromises. For instance, though there is adaptive suspension and I do now have it in comfort mode, it is still a very rough ride as you'd expect from a ladder frame chassis car like this. Also not helping things here are the optional 22-inch wheels, but would you sacrifice them? No, I think they're just too stylish to forego. If you want ride comfort from your Mercedes-AMG SUV, you're better off with a GLE or a GLS. And it's a similar story with the handling. Yes, this may be the AMG version of the Mercedes G-Wagon, but it's still a G-Wagon at the end of the day, so handling really isn't one of its strengths. As with most ladder frame SUVs, it has a high center of gravity and its tall, boxy proportions don't help in this department. There's loads of body roll in any of the driving modes and the steering has a lot of heft to it, which is nice, but it still feels a little bit too weighty in everyday use. Now, as with the previous car, Mercedes only sells the G-Wagon in India as a 63 AMG. But unlike the previous car, this one uses a brand new 4-litre twin-turbo V8, the same one you see in all the other 63 AMG cars on sale right now. Power and torque are both up. It now makes 585 horsepower and 850 Newton meters of torque. And you'll need all that torque in a car this big and heavy. This SUV weighs over 2.5 tons. So, what does all that power and torque feel like in a big, boxy SUV like this? Well, I've come to a slightly abandoned bit of road right now to find out. Left foot on the brake, build up the revs, and let's go. Whoa! It is fast and it is loud. Imagine a brick being shot out of a cannon. That's what it feels like. What a ridiculous car. And I mean that in the best possible way. And then there's the noise of the thing. Of course, all AMG V8s have historically sounded good. But in the process, there is one more rather alarming thing I've discovered about this car. It's fitted with a speed warning system that can't be turned off. No! It beeps once at 80 kilometers an hour. And once you cross 120, it beeps incessantly. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's annoying. As you may know, this is a system that will become mandatory in July 2019, and it's meant to curb speeding by irritating you into slowing down. It even stops music playback. And while it might actually end up being effective, it just seems ridiculous on a 585 horsepower performance car. But you don't have to be tearing around at high speeds to appreciate the appeal of the G-Wagon. I just love how retro cool it still feels inside here, and it wasn't easy for Mercedes to do that with this latest G-Wagon. For instance, the windscreen is still bolt upright. They could have angled it further, but they didn't. And you sit high up, and you want to sit high up. You don't feel like sitting low down like you might in some other cars or SUVs. Here you want that view out. You want to see those two indicators sitting on top of the bonnet. It's all part of the experience. Incidentally, even those indicators were really hard for Mercedes to integrate into this new car in order to meet new crash test norms, but they did it anyway. But even though everything is still wonderfully classic and retro, there is a bit of a modern air to it now. For instance, these seats have a wide array of adjustment, plus they're heated, cooled and massaging. They even have active bolsters that hug you in the corners. It's really nice. Very AMG, but also very, very Mercedes, very comfortable, very luxurious. And just about everything is draped in quilted double-stitch leather. It's on the door pads, it's even in the boot. And guess what, Indian buyers, you're gonna love this, because unlike the last G-Wagon, this one has a sunroof. And perhaps my favorite feature of every G-Wagon returns: the way the doors lock and unlock. Listen to this. That's a solid sound. I should tell you a bit about the backseat, because there's now significantly more space here thanks to the longer wheelbase. And I'm going to make my colleague Jay show you just how much room there is to stretch out, because while I'm 5'8", he's 6'1". As you can see, there's more than enough room back here. You also sit nice and high up, but that comes at a price. It's quite a climb up into the cabin, and you will need the help of that side step. At the front, you'll be pleased to find that classic upright dashboard, albeit festooned with a number of modern touches. I particularly like the new aircon vents that sit on either side of the iconic differential lock buttons. Above that, you'll find the dual 12.3-inch infotainment screens from the S-Class, and they're clear and crisp as ever. So yes, while it may be old school on the surface, Mercedes has been sure to load it up with the latest in equipment and technology. This new generation has brought a lot of improvements to the G-Wagon. It starts with the basic stuff like improved space in the cabin, increased comfort and greater ease of driving. Then it goes on to the greater luxury and equipment in the cabin, which are now truly up there with the best Mercs. Then there's the greater power from this new engine and astonishingly even better off-roading capability. Yet, for those who buy this car, the appeal is something less tangible. It's that brash, in-your-face character of the G63, the way it looks, feels and sounds that people love so much. Also, side pipes. And thankfully, Mercedes hasn't tampered with that. It's pricey, but then it always has been, and that's never stopped it from being the most popular AMG of them all. Hail to the king!